Hi and welcome to another episode of ReaperTV. So in today's gear demo, we're going to be checking out the all-new Greed Smasher pedal from the uber-talented boffins over at Mercuriall. So for anyone who's watched this channel for any length of time, you know how highly I rate the Mercuriall plugins. So when I hear they're releasing something new, I can't wait to get my grubby little mitts on it and give it a good test. And this Greed Smasher pedal is no different. So let's take a look at it and see how we use it in our signal chain and see how it stacks up. So first up, what is the Greed Smasher? Well, it's pretty simply a virtual clone of the Mesa Boogie Grid Slammer overdrive pedal. The Grid Slammer is an overdrive pedal that's relatively low gain and has some signature characteristics that Mercuriall have aimed to replicate in digital form. Now with Mercuriall's track record, you can bet it's going to be pretty damn close. So the pedal has a simple 3-knob design alongside the foot switch which allows you to enable and disable the effect. Now the level is pretty self-explanatory and gives you a relative boost of around plus 20 dB. The tone control manages the amount of high frequencies and allows you to quickly dial in the perfect amount of darkness in your tone. And finally, we have the gain control which acts, as you would expect, in controlling the amount of tube breakup to provide a classic overdrive tone. Now if you're expecting a balls-to-the-wall metal tone, this probably isn't the pedal for you, but in saying that, add this to a high gain amp and you can certainly increase the amount of gain on tap and build some pretty brutal tones. But bear in mind this isn't really what the Greed Smasher is all about. Now before we move on to actually testing this out and giving you my feedback on it, one thing I want to make you aware of. This plugin is completely free. So alongside a lot of the other Mercuriall plugins, you've now got another option with no cost to it, so there's no excuse to not have great sounding guitar tones in your recording sessions. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to take you through into Reaper itself. We're going to take a look at building a signal chain of completely free plugins, and we're going to take a look at how we can use that to create a pretty decent guitar tone and how it sits inside a mix. So let's take a look at how all that's done right now. Okay, so we're into Reaper now, and I've got a session open in front of me. I've got a couple of DI guitar tracks, and at the moment there's nothing on the signal chain for this, so if we take a listen to it, you're just going to hear the clean, dry guitar tone. So let's just go through now and build up our signal chain. So if we come over to the effects browser, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Hybrid by Lapoo plugins for the amplifier. Now this kind of replicates a Marshall JCM 800 kind of amplifier sound, which pairs up quite nicely with the Greed Smasher. So we're going to use this to get a kind of a gritty sound as opposed to a full-on metal tone. So we're going to use that as the basis of the amplifier. And next up, we're going to use another Mercuriall plugin. So we're going to come down to my Mercuriall section, and we're going to use my old favorite, which is the Mercuriall Cab 3. So we drag that up, drop down to the signal chain, and finally we're going to use the Greed Smasher. So let's just again drop down the signal chain. So most important thing is to make sure we got these in the right order. So I want the Greed Smasher to be in the front of my amplifier, then the actual Mercuriall Cab itself. So we've now got the signal chain set up. We can now go start through and creating the sounds we want to work with. So like I say, we've got the level, the tone, the gain, and the on-off switch. We've also got the control over the input gain, so we can, if we want, to sort of put a hotter signal through the pedal, and that'll kind of give it a bit more breakup as well, so you can fine-tune and tweak that. We've also got the low and high quality, so for this we're going to enable the high quality, make sure we're getting the best out of this plugin. But if you're on a slower system, you may find that you need to sort of switch that down and leave it on the low setting. We can, if you want to, switch it into stereo mode as well, so we can have that running as a stereo pedal, so we get a stereo sound out of it. We'll leave it as mono for now, because we're dealing with a mono signal. Mercuriall Cab, we're going to jump over to that. The input tuning, we're not going to use anything on this. We're going to set that to none, and we're going to leave it to SM57 on the cap position, because I found for the tone that I'm looking for, that works quite nicely. But as always, just experiment to get the tone that you're working with, that you want to get for your particular song or mix. We'll leave it on high quality so we get the best out of this plugin as well, and we're going to leave the input and the output as they are. Now we're going to come through to the hybrid section, and we can go through and we can adjust things on there. I'm going to keep this on the clean channel, so we're not going to jump this into the MJC boost or the MJC channel. We're going to keep this just clean, and we're going to let the Greed Smasher fundamentally do all the drive-in or the overdrive in the tube section. So that's going to give us a good idea of what the Greed Smasher can do without using the amplifier to influence the actual drive tone. So with everything in place, let's take a listen to our starting tone so we can get a kind of a ballpark for where we are to start off with, and then we can go through and start fine-tuning and tweaking this to get the sound that we're looking for. So as you can hear, we've already starting to get a little bit of breakup on there. If we switch back to the Greed Smasher, at the moment we have no gain being applied to this, so it's already giving it a bit of drive to it, giving it that sort of nice bit of character. So let's start dialing some gain into this and adjusting the tone to get the kind of sound that I want. Now I'm not looking for a really dark sound, so I'm going to boost the tone to start off with, and then we'll go back and give it a bit more gain to just get that little bit of saturation that I'm looking to get in this guitar tone. Okay, so that's sounding pretty good. That's roughly where I want it to be. Now let's take a listen to it where we've got the Greed Smasher enabled and disabled so we can see exactly what it's doing to the sound of the hybrid on its own. So let's just A-B that. So as you can tell, it's influencing the sound nicely. It's giving it that nice classic overdrive tone, tightening the signal up a little bit, very much the same as a sort of tube screamer does. Gives that nice sort of tightness of tone. And obviously you go through and you can adjust the hybrid to get the kind of additional parameters you want from the EQ section. I'd probably want to put a little bit more treble into it, maybe a little bit of sort of boost the treble up on the PLS mix as well. That would pretty much be where I want it to be with this. So, like I say, this gives us a pretty decent sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly duplicate this onto a second guitar track, and let's take a listen to it in a mix with no EQ applied to it on top of just these plugins. So to start off with, this is just the two guitars on their own, and then I'll bring the rest of the music back into it. So we've got the full overall thing. Like I say, bear in mind, there's no EQ put onto this. This is just the guitar set up through that signal chain we just created. Obviously needs work, but as a starting point, I think it's some pretty cool sound. So as you can see, it very nicely sits inside that basic rough mix. Gives some great guitar sounds, really nice kind of overdrive Marshall tone, no massive distortion there, but it is still there. Like I say, if you wanted to use this with a more distorted track, with a more sort of overdriven signal going in from your amplifier, you can easily do that. It really does a great emulation of that Mesa Boogie pedal. So what would I do? Would I recommend using this? Most definitely. Again, it's one of those things, a great replication from Mercuriall of an original piece of hardware. Mercuriall really don't do bad products, whether you pay for them or they're completely free. So the fact they're bringing this one out for completely zero cost is one of those things I think they need a pat on the back for creating amazing software like this. Anyway, that's my basic overview of this pedal. I hope you found this useful. As soon as it's available, you should go and grab it, download it, install it, try it for yourself. Really low on resources, really easy to work with, and can really enhance the tones that you're working with from your guitar point of view. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all the new content we add every single week. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback on this video or anything else on the channel, please pop those in the comment section below. And until next time, happy mixing.